The following is a presentation of Learfield IMG College.
This is Duck Insider.
Give it to Verdell. He's got the first down and go! Duck fans start celebrating. Oregon is the 2019 Pac-12 champion. The 2020 Rose Bowl champion.
Richardson, another open three. Good! Duarte dribbles and slams with the right hand. For the third time in the last 5 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions. Outright champs.
Foley three. Goal! Foley ball. Down Shelley. Three ball. Goal! Regular season champions and now Pac-12 tournament champions.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Thank you, and happy Monday to those of you joining us for week 2 of Oregon Fall Camp. It's a little later than normal, but I've always thought it was funny that we call it Fall Camp, but it happens in August. Normally, right? Like, football practice begins, and it's like, hey, fall camp, everybody. But it's actually summer camp. But you're getting ready for a fall season, so you call it fall camp, I guess. I've always thought that it was weird. So, in other words, this year, since practice is actually going on in October, that's truly fall camp for both a fall season and when practice is actually happening. I digress. Hi, everybody. Joey Mack here. Thanks for being with us. We're going to hear from Mario Cristobal in just a moment. He recapped Oregon's first scrimmage of the season. Ron says, what's up from California? Love the show. Hey, thanks, Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Appreciate that. Thanks for being with us. We're only a few weeks away from the start of Oregon football season. The first scrimmage is in the books. We were fortunate enough to be doing our Toyota OSN Classics broadcast from the booth at Autzen on Saturday. I can't say that we were like tactfully thinking about that, like, oh, we can be doing our classic game that we listened to while you guys listened to it, and then we also heard from coaches and players during our hour-long pregame show with Terry Johns talking about this year's Oregon football team, but we relived the Pac-12 championship game, and it was really fun because Jerry and Georgie are sitting in separate booths is the way this is working. I'm basically in the hallway, and then Terry's on another level producing all of this, and we're all just sitting there listening to the Utah game, Pac-12 championship, and then kind of observing, seeing what's going on in the scrimmage. I think that you're going to hear a lot from Coach Cristobal that you're going to like, but certainly some things to work on. A typical first scrimmage. That was exactly how I felt. In fact, Georgie said that on our way out of the press box. That's exactly what Mario Cristobal said on Saturday. It's almost like Georgie knows what he's talking about or something.
Almost.
It's, like he's watched a lot of football and played football at the college level. So we're going to hear from Mario Cristobal today. Also, we're going to go inside the Oregon Nutrition Department. We're continuing our feature, talking with everybody from Fuel the Day. If you don't follow Fuel the Day on Instagram, you need to, and on Twitter, everywhere else. They do a great job. The Nutrition Department here at Oregon, getting student-athletes up to speed on what they need to be successful. That's going to be a good interview. You're going to enjoy that. Also today, the Pac-12 has announced a game cancellation and tiebreaker policy. Essentially, I'm just going to give you the bullet points, cliff notes, if you will. The only reason I got through college was cliff notes anyway. Game cancellation, essentially the Pac-12 has established that the minimum threshold for a football game to take place is at least 53 scholarship players available to participate, and the following number of position scholarship players available at each position. 7 offensive linemen, 1 quarterback, 4 defensive linemen. Those are the qualifications. There's a lot of nitty-gritty details to this, but I think that's really the home run note that you need to know. Tiebreakers are always nuts. We know that. Essentially, if it's a 2-team tie, it's a head-to-head. Then it's going to be record in games played within the division. If you get to the third, then it's record against the next highest-placed team in the division. That's a fancy way of saying that essentially it's exactly how it was before for a 2-team tiebreaker, actually. And then for multiple teams, it's going to be head-to-head, then record in games played within the division, then record against the next highest-placed team in the division. Same thing. There are all the way through number 8, and by the way, one of them is a coin toss. A 2-team tie does eventually come down to just a coin toss.
Wow.
Could happen. It never really has, but the Pac-12 has released those guidelines, so I think those are the big takeaways. The Ducks were on the practice field today. They scrimmaged Saturday inside Autzen Stadium. They were inside, actually, where were they today, Scott? Where were they today?
I saw the helmets going into Autzen. But
Okay, so the Ducks were practicing today. Rob Mosley did a Quack Minute. He also was back from his birthday trip. So if you missed our happy birthday to Rob Mosley on Friday, you're going to want to go back and watch that because it's great. But Rob is back with his practice reports on GoDucks.com. He's got a Quack Minute coming for you. Yeah, we're starting the Quack Minutes again on the Oregon football social media channels. I think that was it for the Open. No media interviews today, so we're going to hear from Mario Cristobal on Saturday and then jump into Oregon Nutrition, and we'll have more interviews for you tomorrow on the show. The rest of the way, let's hear from Mario Cristobal, the Oregon football head coach. He met with the media to talk about the first scrimmage that he called, your typical first scrimmage. Coach Cristobal.
Just wrapping up 120, 130-play scrimmage involving offense, defense, special teams. Played everybody in the squad, just about. I can't think of anyone that didn't get in. Overall impression, I think it's your common first scrimmage. You get excited about some things. You get frustrated with others. We need more consistency to our standard. I think we had some brilliant plays, some of physicality, of toughness, of execution and communication. We had some other ones that have a little more to be desired. All the quarterbacks, both quarterbacks played pretty well. But we're going to demand a lot more of them. The defense is ahead of the offense. Certainly, if you had to judge it by who actually won the scrimmage, I would say the defense did, but I would say the offense is certainly coming along and made a lot of plays as well. So all in all, I think it's great to talk to a group of young men that understand what our standard is and that they know, okay, this is scrimmage one, which we treat like game one. We have a game in 3 weeks, and we got to continue to get better and better. Came out of this with no injuries, it looks like. At least nothing major. So with that being said, open to questions.
Mario, with the top two quarterbacks, did either of them do anything particularly of note, lead touchdown drives or have any turnovers or anything? And did anyone other than Sean Dollars, was anybody else limited in any way?
No, Sean Dollars was limited. He'll be a full go on Monday. The both quarterbacks, they had their moments, both good and bad. Tough to say that there was any separation without looking at the tape. Got to make sure with the rotation of wide receivers and tight ends in there, if there was any issues in terms of the actual play itself and lining up and route running and everything. But they both had their moments. They both are guys that we feel that we can win with. Tyler took just about every rep with the ones, and Anthony took the reps with the twos. And, that about sums it up for the quarterbacks.
Hey, Coach, I realize you haven't had the benefit of watching film yet of this, but, just based off what you just saw, who kind of stood out to you or surprised you?
Well, I thought our linebacking core, the older guys and the young guys, really stand out. They're physical. They communicate well. They get lined up. They play fast. They're gifted. They play fast. Jamal Hill really stood out to me today. Jamal Hill is a guy that, in recruiting Jamal Hill, we felt that we found ourselves a gem, a tremendous player, explosive, comes from an awesome family, loves the game, and he showed out today. He had a really, really important interception, so he definitely pops. I thought CJ and Travis, they ran well, they ran hard. I thought Trey Benson really showed up today as well. I love seeing DJ Johnson out there. DJ is healthy. He's a big man, and he could run and he can catch. And he's really going to help us out. Patrick Herbert did a nice job. Isaac Slade continues to impress. Kayvon Thibodeau continues to be a problem, when he's out there. And it's not just third down on first and second down. He does really well. Probably one of the best plays of the day goes to Jordan Scott on a short yardage play. Jordan just did a great job just splitting a double team in the A-gaps and coming up with a tackle for loss on a critical short yardage play. So that's without watching film. I could go on with a few more, but those are some that come. I know Johnny Johnson also continues. Just he works so hard. He just gets better, makes plays.
Coach Cristobal, you mentioned that there's no real winner and loser here, but you mentioned the defense kind of stepped up big today over the offense. How much of a difference do you see in having Giaminor Lenore back in the secondary for you this year?
No, he was really good over the last 3 years, and this guy's come back as a purpose-driven human being now. He is you can always tell, right? The eyes, they never lie. And when you look in his eyes from when he's at practice or when he's attending meetings, this guy's he's on a mission. He's on a mission to be great. He's on a mission to be the best in the country. And by the way he has started off in our camp, I'm I believe in him. We all believe in him. He's a great football player and getting better and hungry to get better.
Hey, Coach Cristobal, hope you're doing well on this Saturday. Just wanted to get your impression of the new offensive line, guys.
Impressed with those guys. Really am. I thought, we threw a couple different guys in our left tackle. We all know about Steven, but through George Moore. George Moore has had a really, really good camp so far. TJ Bass jumped out there as well. I thought that Alex Forsythe he's been like the glue. Him and Ryan Walk have done a really good job getting those guys inside, solidified and just playing at a high level. But, you look at guys like Sala, and the young guys, Dennis and Harper. Patasi's been here a little bit. Jaramillo's been here for a little bit. They're gelling. They played a lot of the same positions for the past 4 or 5 days. Today we moved around a little bit on one of the sides, and they performed pretty well. I'm looking forward to looking at the tape from an alignment standpoint, split standpoint, playing with power, pad level, technique. But just judging from what I saw out there's definitely some progress that lends us to believe that's going to be a good offensive line, a really good offensive line.
Mario Kavon was saying the other day that, before his freshman year, his goal was to get 10 sacks. Before this year, his goal is to grade out to perfection. How big of a help is that to have your best player or one of your best players wanting to be coached really hard and to be an every down guy?
Well, when a guy wants to keep learning and getting better, it makes the locker room different. And it's something that we hit upon our players all the time, especially KT. It's, obviously, he's very talented, very gifted, extremely smart guy. I mean, future is, sky's the limit for him. And he has to continue to assume that role that no matter what, he's going to be the hardest worker, that he's going to bring the best energy, that he's never going to be phased, right? That there is no penalty, that there is no a big play by the offense. No, there's nothing that we can't overcome. And he's got to bring that juice. He's done a really good job so far, and we're going to keep pressing and leaning on him to keep doing that.
How about the kicking game? Did you get a chance to specifically field goals today?
Yeah, we missed one today. We missed one that we should have made, and we had been really good in practice. We had hit, I think, 14 of 16 leading up to today. And the one that we tried today, we didn't hit. I think we tried another one that we split the uprights on. We didn't kick any extra points. Kickoffs were good. Punts were okay. We like to average, in the 44, 45-yard range and hang them up there a little bit. We were close to it, not exactly up to the standard. But the coverage teams that go with them did really well. So, yeah, we've been doing good in the kicking game. Today, it wasn't what we expected, but we'll get back on track on Monday.
Hey, Mario. I guess you mentioned this is kind of a typical first scrimmage. You have another one scheduled next Saturday. What are typically some of the differences you see from scrimmage 1 to 2? Kind of what are you hoping to see there? And then on Monday, what kind of things are you hoping to see just in terms of the reaction after coming back from a big scrimmage on Saturday?
Yeah, the biggest difference in scrimmage 1 is that it's the first time the players are out there and they're by themselves, right? When you're playing ball and you're running all these unit drills, a team run, inside run, 7-on-7, half line pass, coaches are, proximal to the players. They can bark out corrections and commands, and all of a sudden the players go out there and it's silence, And yesterday we try to get them used to that by having them out there and all the coaches off the field. And that's different. Now they got to be on autocorrect, right? I know that's a different year where there aren't many people in the stands. You're probably going to be able to communicate more verbally. But I think that's the biggest difference. So all of a sudden it was like, man, we got to do this on our own. And a lot of guys did well. I mean, a lot of guys they picked up where they left off last year. And other guys, they had their moments. 2-minute drill, right? There's a way to run 2-minute drill. When that ball is put down or that ball is chucked down the field, you better be flying, right? You better be getting there quickly and getting set. So I just think playing the game itself again and again and again, calling it, right? Our coordinators calling the game and getting in football mode, using the sidelines, like we do right now this year, you're 15 of the 15 and being able to walk that entire length. I just think all game day processes, which every single day we do them, every single day. We just got to keep just grinding on them. It comes down to that, right? And there's not a ton of time. There's not a ton. But overall, I feel good as to where we are because of the hunger of the team, the drive and determination displayed by the team.
Mario Cristobal, the Oregon football head coach, meeting with the media on Saturday after the Ducks' first scrimmage, back on the practice field today. Something that Coach mentioned there that I don't know if we've talked about on the show yet, the box for the coaches box, team box, if you will, is being expanded this year. So it is the 15-yard line to the 15-yard line. The idea with COVID-19 is to spread everybody out, right? That's the idea. But that is very different for a head coach. Normally, head coaches, you're going to see a strength coach probably grabbing them by the belt loop saying, hey, coach, you got to get back into the box. You're too far down the sideline. That may not happen quite as much, and it's actually an advantage for coaches. They can see a little bit closer to the goal line in those goal line situations. Something to think about. Up next, we're going to hear more from Mario Cristobal. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Back inside the Country Financial Studio, talking football in the Ducks' first scrimmage with Coach Cristobal. Next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Learfield IMG College.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
It's important to buckle up your kids.
I know.
Sometimes car seats can be complicated.
I know.
And if your child's in the wrong seat and you get into a crash,
I know.
It could lead to a serious injury.
I know.
So you're 100% sure you have the right car seat for your child's age and size?
I don't know.
Don't think you know. Know you know. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Make sure you have the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you inside the Country Financial Studio, where today's show is brought to you by Shadow Hills Country Club, your family resort, just minutes from home. Call for a tour today. We continue hearing from Mario Cristobal. The Oregon football head coach met with the media to recap the Ducks' first scrimmage, and a lot of good information from the Oregon football head coach.
Yeah, Mario, Micah yesterday told us that he's playing more on the outside now instead of in the slot. I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on your receiving core and just what you've seen from this group and in particular today.
Well, Mike is playing all over the place. So he plays his normal slot position that he's played. He's played outside. He's played inside. He's an excellent football player. And he's another guy that, in terms of playing the game the way it's supposed to be played, he embodies that completely. He's always going to be a guy that outworks a competition. It's going to be physical, whether he has the ball in his hands or not. So overall, I mean, I can't help but mention Chris Hudson. Chris Hudson has made a ton of plays out there, and he's made plays inside and outside. So in this offense, whether I know typically for us here, we've had smaller slots, right? Well, in this offense, you've got to have interchangeable parts because of the way that we use our personnel, you know, and sometimes we may be misplacing personnel to create matchups. So, but he sticks out. I thought, of course, Jalen Redd has always been a great player for us, but I think that both Chris Hudson and Josh Delgado deserve some mention as well. He had a couple big catches out there today.
Or typically first scrimmages can be run heavy for everywhere across the country. goes with that. Was that the case? And with that in mind, CJ was also talking the other day about just how he's approaching this year, wants to get to 1,000 yards again, even with a shortened season. Fair to say he's certainly the most accomplished returning player you have on offense. What do you expect to see from him in a shortened season?
You know, statistically, I can't say I look for anything in particular. I like seeing the CJ that we know, the one that we have seen play for the last few years, just, you know, complete package at running back, and a guy that, you know, Coach Mirabal had a great message for the team today. You know, if you're here, it's because you have opted to be in, and being in is being all in. And CJ is another guy that embodies that. So his leadership's going to be counted upon. The way he runs, the way he catches the ball out of the backfield, and the way he protects. I mean, we feel he's one of the best in the country. And it's infectious. The other backs really, they feel his game. They feed off of it. Those guys are some of the best juice guys, energizing guys on the sidelines. So CJ is invaluable, James. He's about as good as I've been around, as not only as a player, but as a teammate. You know, it's so important. Like you mentioned, it's a shortened year. This thing is, I don't know what the percentage breakdown is. Of course, we're playing football, but there's a lot more to this, right? We're all dealing with a pandemic. You've got to have protocol. You've got to carry the protocol out of the building and take it home with you, create your own bubbles. I've heard all the cliches. You've got to be able to just be disciplined, man, you know? And I think he brings that to the table, and he impacts others in the way that he carries himself.
Coach, you know, obviously this has been one of the strangest of off seasons ever. Given that, where would you say this team is, you know, after week one, after the first scrimmage, versus the first two seasons, your first two fall camps here?
Oh, you know what? I don't see much of a difference. I see some things that we're probably a little bit ahead on, and some things that we're maybe not up to par yet. And we've been practicing, and we were able to ramp up probably quicker than what we thought. We thought that we would have to keep, and we've kept our routines where we had to modify them some because we didn't have that long stretch of training leading up to camp. But the way that these guys, their outputs, their numbers, their workloads, and accelerations and high-speed running on the GPS system, it lends us to trust and believe that they're in better shape than what we thought they would be. And so they've been able to maintain a high level of performance in practice. That helps, okay? I thought tackling might be an issue today, and I saw some good tackling. I saw some that we have to clean up. There's no question about it. I saw some really good tackling. I saw that we need to learn how to practice, to relearn how to practice thud, which is staying up and going full speed, because sometimes we're ending up on the ground, and we can't do that. We don't have enough bodies. That's where you end up getting hurt, when guys are on the ground and getting rolled up. So, again, I think it's very comparable. I don't see much of a difference in this point in our camp this year as opposed to the other couple of years.
You talked about giving yourself and the guys on the team more time to watch college football over these last few weeks. I'm just curious, how much does that help specifically for these scrimmages, seeing other teams across the country in in-game situations, and now you guys are starting your, I guess, in-game situations with these scrimmages?
Well, I think anytime you can learn a lesson without feeling the consequences, it certainly helps. And it also, from an excitement, right, enthusiasm, a juice standpoint, you know, it's real now. We're about to be on that stage, right? We're now 3 weeks away, 21 days, whatever it may be. So it's what we do, right? It's what we do. It's our passion. And I mean, we watch football anytime, anywhere, any place. The fact that, you know, we've been able to have for the most part around the country, success in playing out this season. It gets our guys excited. They get to see situations. If we find a situation that we think is learning, a teaching moment, we'll cut it up, we'll bring it in, we'll discuss it and break it down as a team. And sometimes we might rep it in practice that way. We might choreograph that particular situation and try to build that muscle memory. So if that does come up, you know, we can respond appropriately and end up on the right side of the win column.
Mario, I was curious, with no fans in attendance this year, do you bother piping in artificial noise for scrimmages, or do you just kind of go in silence?
No, it's a great question. We're waiting on the ruling for the ambient noise, what can be used or not. Once that's in effect, we'll be able to crank that out or crank that up as the conference sees fit. But it's been really important for us to practice in a just empty stadium. And honestly, you want to recruit players, coaches, staff that are okay with that, if that was the norm, quite honestly. Guys that would love football so much you'd play it outside or in a parking lot anywhere, Now, that being said, we all know there is no place like Autzen Stadium. And so since our people, our family, can't be there, we have to bring it, right? We have to, when we pack our bags on Friday to go to the hotel or to travel, we've got to pack our juice. We got to pack our enthusiasm. We got to pack our own Autzen and unleash it come game day. And you have to practice that. You have to practice sustaining juice and energy throughout practice. And you have to create practice periods that require you to respond, right, in a place that's empty, that doesn't have a crowd, where you have got to create your own momentum. So all in all, it's we've been preparing for it, and I think we're going to benefit a lot from that.
Yeah, Mario, haven't heard much discussion from a couple guys. One, Jonah, along the offensive line. I know there was a lot of optimism when he signed with you. Kind of what's the status with him? And then the receiver spot with Waters and Wilhoit. I know you were very high on them prior to their injuries in camp last year. Just kind of where are they from a development standpoint?
Sure. Well, in Jonah's case, he got a little dinged up, so we've been holding him out. We don't think it's anything serious. We expect to be back. So in the meantime, others have gotten reps there. In terms of the other spot, I think some other wide receivers have stepped up. You can't deny the way that Johnny and Red and Mike Pittman have been playing, and Chris Hudson. We're trying to get some other guys to get going. We really need to get JR and Will Hoyt and Devin Williams going. There's a lot of potential there, certainly a lot of ability, and they are getting reps. But at this point right now, we feel that that's where it's at. Got to keep getting better, got to keep repping, and create playmaking opportunities. And when they do come their way, they got to make them happen.
Mario Cristobal, the Oregon football head coach. He met with the media for about 20 total minutes to recap the Ducks' first scrimmage of fall camp on Saturday. Ducks will scrimmage again at the end of this week, and Coach will again talk to the media coming up on Saturday. More interviews from Oregon football practice with an assistant coach and some student athletes coming up tomorrow, and we'll have that for you right here on Duck Insider. Today's show brought to you by North Fork Public House, open for dine-in and takeout, northforkeugene.com. Joey Mack here with you. Up next, we're going to talk a little Oregon nutrition with Fuel the Day's Jordan Sylvester. That's coming up next. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union, inside the Country Financial Studio, after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
This football season, prepare your taste buds for the most iconic sports watching drink of all time, Pepsi. With refreshing deliciousness specially formulated to keep your eye on the ball and mouth-watering fizziness to help you power through game day, Pepsi has everything you need to start strong.
I used to care when Mike cheered so hard he spilled nacho cheese on my carpet, but thanks to Pepsi, even Mike can't ruin my football party.
So this football season, make Pepsi your go-to game day drink because it's the only drink made for football watching. Pepsi, that's what I like.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. Life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Everybody buckle up. Mom. Buckle up.
Let's go.
Buckle up.
Can we go to the store? Mom,
buckle
can we get
up.
some ice cream?
Everybody, buckle up.
A lot goes on in the car, but you're in control. So only move when you hear the click that says they're buckled in. Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Back on Doug Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studios. So got your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill coming up. And today, it was a lot of fun. A couple weeks ago, we caught up with every Oregon nutritionist, actually. We did all the interviews in the span of 1 week, and we've been kind of spreading them out to air them here on the show to talk with all of the different folks that make the Oregon Nutrition Department what it is. Jordan Sylvester is our next sports dietitian that we're going to feature. She works with a number of different sports, and her career is an interesting one. How she got into this field, what got her interested in it, and how she goes about planning the nutrition, diet, and the routine for all these student athletes. Really interesting. We caught up with Jordan Sylvester, sports dietitian. Talking a little bit of nutrition with Jordan Sylvester, kind enough to join us. She's joining us virtually. Jordan, the last time I saw you, it was in the baseball dugout at PK Park, probably in February. It feels like an eternity ago, and I can only imagine how crazy life has been trying to figure out how to get back to work with athletes and just everything going on. So I got to say, I just really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and have fans kind of get to know you a little bit and go inside the nutrition department. So how are things?
Things are going great. I mean, obviously, they're looking a little bit different than they were in February. I think we've gone through quite a few different cycles of different processes and ways we're doing things over the past 6 or 7 months, but now we're getting our athletes back, and it's definitely exciting having some football and basketball games on the schedule, and hopefully we have some baseball this spring.
Yeah, that's the hope. So I got to give everybody a little bit of a background. Jordan's been with Oregon since 2018, working with baseball, soccer, lacrosse, and golf. Now, Jordan, you may not know this, but everybody who comes on the show for the first time, there's a rule, and you have to tell your 2-minute life story to kick off the interview. And I am timing you. So the 2-minute life story of Jordan Sylvester, give it to us.
All right, we're just going to start from the very beginning. I was born on July 27th. I weighed 7 pounds and 5 ounces. In the beautiful state of Georgia. I was born at Northside Hospital in Atlanta, Hotlanta. And that's where I grew up, in Marietta. It's northwest of Atlanta, about 30 minutes. I went to the University of Georgia for undergrad. I was a star club soccer player.
Nice.
And our biggest travel was up to Virginia, and we paid for everything out of our own pockets, including our jerseys and all of that stuff. So, now that I'm working in D1 collegiate athletics, I am realizing how blessed all of these individuals are for all the resources they have. But yeah, after undergrad, I studied nutrition, went to OHSU up in Portland for my dietetic internship. That's what originally brought me to the West Coast. And then my first job was actually at Clemson University. So I did my third driving road trip across the country in 1 year, actually 3 in 1 year. Because then after that, I moved to Eugene and started with the Cubs minor league team, the Eugene Emeralds, for a season. Lucky enough, my first day of setting up the clubhouse, I met Nikki and Taylor as they were touring around some interns. And I told them, hey, I want a job. This is ending in a few months. Hit me up. And they're like, well, we're actually hiring, hopefully in fall. And lucky enough, I was employed before the Cubs season ended, which ended in a championship, and I had a nice ring to go with it. So that was awesome. Still waiting for an Oregon ring though. So
I have a feeling you'll get one. By the way, 1 minute 57 seconds.
Ooh.
Pretty good. Yeah, that's so we have a leaderboard. It's on our whiteboard over here to my right. So far, we've only had one person hit exactly 2 minutes, but it's actually amazing how close most people are getting. Like, I think my secret is out, and people are starting to practice when they come on. So
I had no idea.
Okay, good. So nobody warned you that this was going to be a thing. All right, that's good. George Sylvester, all right, guys. All right, I have multiple follow-ups, as you can imagine. What got you interested in nutrition? Why go into this career?
Well, I grew up in a culinary household. My parents met in culinary school. I was always around food. I am by no means as good as they are in the kitchen. It's amazing what they can do with leftovers.
Nice.
And so I always had that. I also have an aunt who's my godmother, who was always into fitness. And I just really admired her, and obviously played sports all growing up. And so it was kind of just a way to bring the two together, nutrition and athletics. I remember sitting in one of my freshman classes where they were just telling us about different majors that were in the college, and they talked about dietitians. They probably said a lot of stuff about working in a hospital. I don't remember it. I just imagine they probably did. And they said, or you could work for an MLB team. And I was like, all right, go Braves. I'm from Atlanta. I'll be there. And that's what jumped me into that major, and I just went with it. Interned at the Georgia sports nutrition program, worked with their football team, and then lucky for me, within a year and a half of my working career, I was working for the Cubs. So it was kind of cool to see everything come full circle.
I'm curious on timeline at Georgia. Did you overlap with Coach Feld at all? Was he still on the Georgia staff when you were interning there?
No, I didn't. At that point, I had already moved to Portland for grad school, I think. Yeah.
It's just funny. Like, it's not funny, but it's always odd to me when sports is such a small community, like all these different people, and sometimes that they cross paths. That's interesting. So, all right. So then I'm curious now, was it really just the internship up in Portland, or what else brought you to the West Coast? Like, why'd you make that first of 3 cross-country drives?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, because I look back and I'm like, why the heck did I pick Oregon of all places? I had never been here before. I had family in California. I knew I didn't want to live there from a young age, just because it's really populous, and I grew up, in the South, and I always just dreamed I'd be in the Carolinas. Like, I loved the green that was around here. And anytime I was in California, I didn't really see green from where I was. Now that I'm older, I obviously know there are forests there. But I was pleasantly surprised when I came to Oregon and how green it was. But I don't remember really having any idea of what Oregon or Washington even had to offer. I just knew that my parents, they're from Pennsylvania and Connecticut, and they moved to Georgia. And I was like, I'm getting out of my hometown. I'm going to go as far as I want. And I know that when I was going to undergrad that I'd go in state, because they've got a really great scholarship there that pays for your whole tuition if you go in state. So that was a no-brainer. And then I was like, I'm going as far away as I can for grad school, experience something new, and here I am.
Jordan Sylvester, sports dietitian. Awesome conversation. We're going to continue and jumping into what goes on in the planning for a student-athlete's diet and the nutrition. And we're going to continue with Jordan Sylvester next. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Back inside the Country Financial Studio right after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics, because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar presents an original that's now maybe even better. Mary had a little lamb.
Mary had a bottle of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar with the same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Mary had a bottle of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. That's taste was as good as the original, maybe even better.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. As good as the original, maybe even better.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics. This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Whoa, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom. I had no idea how hard it would be and what I would need to know.
Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood and ways for me to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics, but also information about the hurdles I was facing. Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. We continue with Jordan Sylvester. We chatted with her about sports dietitian. She's a sports dietitianist working with a ton of different sports, and we talked about what goes into the planning for those student athletes as we chatted with Jordan Sylvester. So 3 cross-country trips in 1 year. Did you do all of it in the same car, and is that car still running?
Yes, it is.
Excellent.
The heat is questionable if that works. There's a rusty spot on the hood of the car. The CD player doesn't work. I think it has a cassette player too. I don't know. We don't really use those anymore these days, but yeah, it's still running. I get so much crap from everyone I know about it, but you know what? It works, and yeah.
I've always said if it gets you from point A to point B, who cares? It's like that's what it's good for. Hey, props to you though. That's awesome. Jordan Sylvester, our guest, sports dietitian. I'm curious. This industry to me has just really taken off. It seems like in the last 5 years. And obviously that's easy for me to say because Oregon's had sports nutrition for about the last 5 years. So that's kind of when it was first on my radar and the growth around the college landscape. Could you speak to that a little bit and just give fans a perspective of like why this industry has really boomed so much at the college level and really the value of it for student athletes?
Yeah, definitely. Let me get my sales pitch voice on right now.
All right.
Which I never realized I'd have to do very often. I just thought nutrition, everyone would know that it's important, whether we're talking about athletics or not. But you'd be surprised that we do really have to sell ourselves sometimes. So that's just the nature of it. And it certainly has grown a lot. Don't quote me on these numbers. There is some data out there that shows how many dietitians there are now versus 10 years ago versus 20. But I think when I was interning as an undergrad at Georgia, there were only like 30 programs that had a sports dietitian. And that was only one, and that didn't even mean they were full-time.
Right.
And now I don't even know what the number is, but it's probably 500 times that. Because if the school has one, they might have multiple, and we're lucky enough to have 4 full-time dietitians. Now we see sports RDs in the professional level, the NFL, the MLB a couple years ago made an announcement that every program was going to have an RD, whether they were full-time or not. A lot of them use contract dietitians, but we're seeing them in hockey and MLS. We're seeing them obviously huge in the college arena. I think that's where most of us are right now. But now we're even seeing them in high schools. And a lot of those individuals are going to be contracted out. They're not necessarily full-time, and they may just work with people on an individual basis or just 1 or 2 teams out of that school. But it's certainly grown a lot. And people are picking up on the fact that nutrition and whatever they do in the weight room goes hand in hand. And that's a beautiful thing because it's very important.
Yeah, I think it's super cool for me to talk with folks like yourself and the support staff really that makes everything go. Because it really is a great collaboration, isn't it? I mean, you guys must be just always constantly talking with each other about each individual athlete, and there's just so many moving parts. Could you speak to that a little bit and just the amount of collaboration that goes on behind the scenes for the well-being of each student athlete?
There's quite a bit. And you think about all the people that are helping these athletes from a medical standpoint. We've got athletic trainers, a team doctor. From the fitness standpoint, we've got strength coaches, and then just the regular coaching staff, which looks different, obviously, based on sport. It could be position-based or just general head and assistant coach. We've got mental health specialists. all sorts of individuals that help these athletes, and we're all a piece of the puzzle. So if we're not in communication with one another, I might not know someone's having surgery next week if I'm not talking to the athletic trainer. And a lot of us work multiple teams too. So we're kind of all over the place. And what I've learned is you really have to be proactive about having contact with these individuals. We've got weekly meetings, but things come up days and before and days after. And if you haven't seen that coworker, then you might miss something.
Right. Jordan Sylvester, sports dietitian, joining us again, working with baseball, soccer, lacrosse, and golf. So, I see sports there that are baseball, golf. I think you can make some connections in terms of, at least in my amateur eyes, of like, okay, maybe they're on a similar program. Soccer, lacrosse, probably a little bit different. How different is the program that you put together for each athlete in each of those sports? And I don't want to overgeneralize, but I would assume that you've probably got some stark differences between a soccer nutrition plan and a golf nutrition plan. Is that correct?
Definitely. And it's not even just sport versus sport. It comes down to individual versus individual, right? So we'll take soccer, for example. We've got strikers, midfield, defense, goalie. So generally our defenders, let's say outside backs, or whether it's left and right side, they're going to be doing about the same type of work in a game. But you have to look at the individual and how much are they playing in that. Are they a full 90 minute? Do they play half? Do they play 15 minutes? What are their goals too? Whether that's body composition goals, are they wanting to put muscle on? Do they want to lose weight? Are they coming off of an injury? All of those types of things go into creating some sort of plan for them. And then we'll look at baseball, for instance. We've got a pitcher who might pitch, let's say they're a starting pitcher, will pitch once a week in a game, live in a game. Of course, they're doing stuff outside of the game, but their nutrition plan is going to look a lot different from someone in the outfield who is doing some sprint work throughout the game. It's going to look a lot different for how they fuel before and during.
Can you give us like a general idea of what the plan is for, say, that pitcher versus the outfielder? I mean, like what sorts of things what does one of those plans actually look like when you put it together for an individual student athlete?
Yeah. So as far as like meal plans go, we kind of try to stray away from that just because they're so rigid and structured. They're good in theory, and they can certainly be helpful for an athlete to get a visual of what a day should look like, whether it's a game day or a practice day or rest day. But we really want to educate them on the different types of nutrients that they can put on in their body for different purposes. So we know carbs give us energy. Protein is going to help maintain and also build our muscle mass. And fat is really important for different reasons in the body, such as brain function, building of hormones, and all of those types of processes that happen. So we want to educate first on those things, and then also teach them when they should have them. Is it mealtime, snack time? Are we talking about before training, after training? And then when it comes down to game day specific, it again depends on if they're playing, right? So if it's a pitcher's rest day, he'll probably eat more like an off day. If he is starting, then you got to deal with the individual and see if they've got nerves, right? So Are they going to want to have something big to eat? And if not, a couple hours before, do we push that meal back then 4 hours so everything can digest well? But typically speaking, for the positions that have a little bit more activity cardio wise, whether they're running like an outfielder or even hitters, right? They're running from base to base. The big nutrient that we want to focus on is carbohydrates, because that's what's going to give them the energy for that.
Interesting stuff talking with Jordan Sylvester from Oregon Nutrition. Now, we're going to finish up that interview when we come back. It's Stuck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union, inside the Country Financial Studio, next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
All right, everybody in the car. Let's go.
What are we going to do first when we get there, Mom? Go for a hike?
Sure.
What about canoeing? Can we go canoeing, too?
I don't see why.
How long does it take to get to the forest?
It's not that far, sweetie.
Are we there yet?
Yep, we're here.
Already?
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
They say that car crashes happen in slow motion. The reality is that crashes happen fast. There's no time to think and no time to check if your child is in the right car seat. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your kids in the right seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Get more info at safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, where we finish things up talking with Jordan Sylvester. Part 3 of our conversation with the Oregon nutritionist and taking you inside the Fuel of the Day operation with Jordan Sylvester. Do you have to sell yourself as much now as you did maybe 2 years ago when you first started with each individual team? Or are the student athletes kind of like, oh, I get this. Like, I understand the value now.
That's a good question. Yes and no. And I think it depends on, honestly, what program you're in. Yeah. I think Oregon puts a really big emphasis on nutrition, and that has really helped us. All of my coaches are super supportive of the work that I do. They say, whatever you want to do, Jordan, you do it, and I get free reign of it. You know, they may have some suggestions of what they want me to incorporate, and I'm happy to do that, but for the most part, they let me do whatever. When it comes to individual athletes, yeah, there's going to be kids who they may believe in it, but they're not motivated to put forth work, because what they don't realize is that it is work. Yeah. So let's take someone who he's 6'2", 200 pounds, like a lot of muscle, but also wants to gain some 10 to 15 pounds. And already with the work that they're doing in training, they're lifting 3 to 4 times a week, they're practicing 5 to 6 times a week. They're already expending a lot of energy or calories, right? It's the same energy equals calories through all of that activity, but they're also 6'2", 200 pounds and full of muscle. And we know that muscle burns more quickly what we eat than what fat would. Fat doesn't burn anything. Right. And so you have to take into consideration what they're outputting, what they're already metabolically burning, just if they were to lay in bed all day. And then they want to gain weight. And usually we up their calories, maybe 500 to 1,000 calories a day, depending on how aggressively we want to gain weight. So these kids are eating like 500 calories a day, maybe even more, depending on what their goals are. So yeah, it's kind of a full-time job for them to eat around the clock.
Yeah, no doubt. Jordan Sylvester joining us, a sports dietitian. You know, what do you see as the future with nutrition? I mean, we talked about just the growth of it and just how valuable it is. I mean, do you see this really just taking off even more and more? I mean, what's the next step, I guess, for this entire industry, and then for you personally here at Oregon?
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to continue to grow, just kind of like a domino effect. Different teams, different schools are picking up on the importance of having a dietitian, and everyone's looking for that extra edge. They're wanting to invest in their program and in their athletes, so ultimately they win championships. Right. I think in a perfect world, every team would have their own dietitian.
Right.
So I work 5 teams. The other dietitians here at Oregon work multiple teams as well. We are stretched thin, and we have 4 people. I can't imagine individuals who work at schools and work 20 sports by themselves. You just get the tip of the iceberg there. And there's so much more we could do and invest in each individual athlete if we were able to have one team. There is beauty in having multiple teams, of course. I just see in the future, as our profession grows, that eventually you'll start to see, single dietitians on different individual teams, whether that's college or professional level.
Good stuff from Jordan Sylvester. I really enjoyed that conversation with Oregon sports dietitian Jordan Sylvester. Just talking about her career and what goes into everything that happens behind the scenes. Really great stuff. Finishing things up today with your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. If you missed it earlier, the Ducks were back on the practice field today following Oregon's first scrimmage on Saturday. The Ducks will also be practicing throughout the week, ramping up in week 2 of fall camp. Kind of had an extended week 1, now week 2, where Coach Cristobal said in his press conference that he wants the Ducks to work more and more on that thud practice, right? Not going down to the ground, but you're still thudding to get that feeling of tackling. That's what the Ducks are going to be focusing on, among many other things, throughout the course of this week. Pac-12 today also announced their game cancellation and tiebreaker policies. The big takeaway is that the minimum number of players at a given position group will matter. The Pac-12 will take that into account. 1 quarterback, for example, 7 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen, and 53 total scholarship players must be available. Otherwise, the game will be canceled/postponed. That's kind of the big takeaway from the Pac-12. Otherwise, the tiebreakers are what you'd expect. Head-to-head, record against the second-best team in the division, and so on. You can read all of them on the Pac-12 website. That's your 2-minute drill to finish things up today, brought to you by Cafe Yum restaurants throughout Oregon and Washington. Serving Northwest-inspired catering and takeout for your next gathering or meeting. Menus always available, cafeyum.com. Tomorrow, we're going to hear from some Oregon student-athletes, and Vicky Strand from Oregon Events is going to join us for a really special interview. You won't want to miss it. See you tomorrow.
Okay, man, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments.
Oh, that's true.
Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/tough.